What's up, my brothers? What's up, my sisters? Welcome back to the channel. So, Blue Lock Chapter 307 just dropped, and holy shit, we need to talk about this chapter. I mean, more than 90% of you have probably already seen the chapter, but I don't give the slightest shit about that because today we're talking about what it's about, of course, but also the theory that I've developed because this is the chapter that potentially explains everything about Sae Itoshi's backstory and introduces what might be the most psychologically fucked up character in the entire series. That's how deep this rabbit hole goes. I've been digging through every spoiler, every leak, and every fan theory for the past week, and what I've found is going to completely change how you see this series, because Bunny Iglesias will be really important. This dude might be the key to understanding why Sae became such a cold, calculating Itachi Uchiha, and the implications are honestly disturbing as hell. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the darkest psychological territory Blue Lock has ever explored, and it's going to get uncomfortable real fucking quick. First, let's talk about what actually happens in Chapter 307, because the setup is already insane. Isagi lands in Spain with tickets from Ego to multiple countries, Germany, England, Spain. But instead of jumping straight into some training facility, he ends up at a restaurant struggling with the language. Then he sees this scarred-faced Spanish dude on another table, and he started a conversation with him. Of course, he was using the Mikaj Corporation translation device like he's a tourist with Google Translate. Normal shit, right? Wrong, because this conversation gets dark fast. Isagi's being his usual optimistic self, talking about football strategy and dreams, and this Spanish guy starts getting jealous. Not competitive jealous though, but genuinely envious of Isagi's happiness. The dude literally says he sometimes feels like dying after seeing others happy. That's not normal competitive banter. That's someone with serious psychological issues who's triggered by other people's joy. This is red flags everywhere, but Isagi's too pure to notice he's basically having dinner with someone who could snap at any moment. I mean, he lives in Japan. He doesn't even know the whole situation in Europe. Then, yeah, they talked a few more sentences, nothing special, and then Isagi goes to the Copa del Rey final between Chocorrid and FC Barcha. For those who don't know, Chocorrid is the Blue Lock version of Atletico Madrid. And guess what? The depressed Spanish guy from the restaurant is on the fucking field. His name is Bunny Iglesias. He's 19 years old, plays for FC Barcha, and he's a member of the new generation World 11. Oh, and Sae Itoshi is also watching the match via TV, and this guy is mad as fuck. This is where shit gets real because all the pieces start falling into place. Bunny Iglesias isn't just some random elite player. This guy is potentially the insurmountable wall that broke Sae's dreams of becoming the world's best striker. And here's the fucked up part. Bunny himself is already broken. Think about it. Bunny's 19 years old, which means he was probably around 16 to 17 when Sae was in Spain. Perfect age to be the prodigy who crushed Sae's dreams. But instead of being some arrogant genius celebrating his superiority, Bunny's sitting in restaurants telling strangers he wants to die when he sees them happy. That's not the behavior of someone who's satisfied with destroying others. That's someone who got destroyed himself and is now passing that trauma down the line like some kind of psychological virus. The timeline makes perfect sense. Sae goes to Spain as this confident striker with dreams of being the best. He meets Bunny, who's already this incredible player, but psychologically fucked up from whatever happened to him, probably something regarding his scar. Bunny shows Sae that even if you're talented enough to reach the elite level, the system will break you mentally. Sae realizes that becoming the world's best striker means becoming like Bunny, technically brilliant but emotionally destroyed. So Sae makes the calculated decision to switch to midfielder, not because he couldn't compete with Bunny's skill, but because he saw what success at that level actually costs. He chose to become depressive, cold, and calculating rather than broken and suicidal. In Sae's mind, becoming an emotionally distant midfielder was the lesser evil compared to becoming a depressed League of Legends player. But here's where it gets really psychological. Bunny's not just some antagonist who crushed Sae's dreams out of malice. He's a victim himself who's stuck in this cycle of destroying other people's optimism because he can't stand being reminded of what he lost. This is like the championship of the emos. When he sees Isagi's genuine joy about football, it triggers him because it reminds him of his own destroyed dreams. This makes Bunny probably one of the most tragic characters in Blue Lock. He's simultaneously the perpetrator and victim of the same system that chews up young players and spits them out broken. He destroys others because destroying others is what was done to him, and he literally can't handle seeing people have what he can never get back. The scar on his face isn't just some cool character design choice. It's symbolic of the deeper psychological wounds that never healed. Bunny succeeded in football but failed at being human, and now he's trapped in this cycle where his own success reminds him of his failure. Now here's where Isagi comes in and why Ego specifically sent him to Spain. This isn't coincidence. Ego knows exactly what happened to Sae, and he's testing whether Isagi can handle the same psychological pressure that broke his brother. But there's a crucial difference. Isagi has Blue Lock as a support system. When Sae encountered Bunny, he was alone in a foreign country with no one to help him process what he was seeing. Isagi has the psychological framework of Blue Lock, which specifically prepares players for this kind of mental warfare. More importantly, Isagi's already seen characters like Rin and Shido who are psychologically damaged, so he's not going to be as shocked by Bunny's behavior. The restaurant scene is perfect foreshadowing because Isagi already recognized that something was wrong with Bunny, but he didn't let it affect his own optimism. That's the key difference. Sae saw Bunny's brokenness and thought, this is what success looks like, while Isagi saw it and thought, this person needs help. What makes this even more interesting is that Bunny might be redeemable. His jealousy of Isagi's happiness suggests he remembers what it was like to feel joy about football. He's not completely dead inside like some characters. He's just buried under years of trauma and isolation. If anyone could reach him, it would be someone like Isagi who genuinely cares about other people's well-being. This sets up a potential storyline where Isagi doesn't just defeat Bunny on the field, but actually helps him rediscover his love for football. Maybe like some Talk no Jutsu, or who am I kidding, this is Blue Lock. Isagi will probably destroy Bunny. The psychological implications are insane when you think about it. Blue Lock has always been about creating the perfect egotist, but this Spain arc might be about proving that empathy and human connection are actually stronger than pure ego. Isagi's weapon isn't just spatial awareness, it's his ability to see people as humans rather than obstacles. Sae's presence at the match isn't coincidence either. He's probably there to see if Isagi will make the same choice he did, or if Blue Lock's approach can actually produce something different. This could be the moment where Sae finally confronts his own past and realizes that maybe his decision to become emotionally distant wasn't the only option. The really fucked up part is how this reflects real-life football culture. Bunny represents all the young players who get burned out, develop mental health issues, and either quit or continue playing while psychologically damaged. The football world is full of technically brilliant players who are complete disasters as human beings, and Blue Lock is basically saying, what if we could fix that? But here's what makes me think this theory is correct. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. Chapter 3:07 is setting up the Spain arc right when we need answers about Sae's backstory. Bunny's age and status match exactly what we'd expect from the player who broke Sae. His psychological profile explains why Sae would choose to become cold rather than risk becoming broken like Bunny. Most importantly, this gives Isagi a chance to prove that Blue Lock's approach is superior to traditional football development. Instead of creating broken geniuses like Bunny, Blue Lock creates psychologically resilient players who can maintain their humanity while still being elite competitors. The next few chapters are going to be absolutely crucial because they'll determine whether this is just a standard, new strong opponent arc or something much deeper about trauma, healing, and what it really means to be the best. If I'm right about Bunny being Sae's wall, then we're about to get the most psychologically complex storyline Blue Lock has ever attempted. And I think Rin will probably defeat Bunny and avenge Sae, and then they'll be like Sasuke and Itachi again. And honestly, this is exactly what the series needed. We've seen plenty of physically strong opponents and tactically brilliant players, but Bunny represents something different, a cautionary tale about what happens when the pursuit of excellence costs you your humanity. He's not just an obstacle for Isagi to overcome, he's a mirror showing what Isagi could become if he loses sight of why he started playing football in the first place. The fact that Kaneshiro is willing to explore these psychological themes shows how much Blue Lock has evolved from just being a sports manga about creating egotists. It's becoming a genuine examination of what success costs and whether there's a way to achieve greatness without sacrificing your soul. So yeah, chapter 3:07 didn't just introduce a new character, it potentially introduced the most important character for understanding the entire psychological foundation of Blue Lock. Bunny Iglesias might be the key to everything, and we're just getting started with this psychological mindfuck of an arc. So yeah, if this theory is correct, the Spain arc is going to be the darkest and most emotionally complex storyline Blue Lock has ever told.